We are the 17th of November 1984. Michael Jordan plays his 11th game against Dr. G's Philadelphia Sixers. This game was challenging, since he scored only 16 points, a poor performance for him, and the Sixers won by 9 points, 109 to 100. But on that day, some of the spectators were surprised by something else than the game. Something that Michael Jordan was wearing on his feet. He was wearing the one and only Air Jordan 1 Chicago, the most iconic OG model of the Jordan line. But nobody, even him, realized that he was probably wearing the most famous sneaker in history. Hi everyone, my name is Arthur Berendi and you're watching Sneak In, your new show about sneakers culture. Today, we talk about the secrets and mysteries that surround the classic of the classic, the Air Jordan 1. The Air Jordan 1 is the shoe with the most impactful storytelling, but it also contains the biggest lie in the history of sneakers. So let's go to the past to see what this is about. First of all, Michael Jordan was not an ordinary player when he arrived in the NBA. He was a genius basketballer at the University of Northern Carolina, where he won the 1982 NCAA championship. He was so good that his coach there, Dean Smith, told him that he needed to go to the NBA immediately. For him, Michael Jordan was already too good for college basketball. MJ followed his coach's advice and became part of the 1984 NBA draft. And as many of you already know, he was selected by the Chicago Bulls. But after that, he needed to find a sponsor, like every rookie. Usually, in 1984, it was something very secondary for a player. But for Michael Jordan, it was about to change his life forever. And that's when Nike appears for the first time in our story. At the time, Adidas and Converse were dominating the NBA sponsorship. Okay, Nike had Moses Malone or Jaman Wilkes. But man, Converse had Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, and Dr. G. They were unbeatable in this category. That's when Nike knew they had to get the player to compete against them. And Michael Jordan was the perfect candidate. However, Jordan disagreed. He wanted to sign with Adidas or Converse, like all the best players. He wanted to avoid dealing with this new opportunist brand. He wanted something solid. So Michael Jordan visited Converse. And let's be honest, even Michael Jordan didn't understand how they could dominate the sponsorship market in the NBA. And there's a reason for that. Converse wasn't visionary at all. They weren't making any effort. They were offering the same sneakers year after year with no technological innovation. Worse than that, they were always putting their players equally on posters on the same line, at the same level. None of them was a bigger star than the other. And for Michael Jordan, it was a problem, because they offered him the same contract as the others. They wanted him to pose near Larry Bird and Magic Johnson for $100,000 a year. So Michael left the meeting, disgusted by what he has just heard. And he was disgusted because what was offered to him was precisely the opposite of what he initially wanted. With David Falk, his agent, they wanted to find a sponsor that would treat MJ like a tennis player or a golf player, so totally independently from the rest. Jordan had to become the icon, the star of the brand. He didn't want to be exposed like a statue near other players. Yeah, I know, he already had a big ego then, but it was their objective, and nobody wanted to offer that. And instead of Nike, no one returned to MJ and David many times. So David Falk insisted that they should listen to what Nike had to say. But it was a no for Michael Jordan. That's why they decided to see what Adidas has to offer to them. However, there was a problem. Adidas wasn't interested at all in Michael Jordan. It sounds crazy, but it was the case for many reasons. First of all, the company has been a mess since the death of its historic founder Adolf Dassler in 1987. Kate Dassler, his wife, decided to take care of the brand. But she didn't make the most significant decisions, like Adolf's brother, Rudolf, predicted many years ago when the war between the Dassler brothers started. She refused to sign Michael Jordan because he was too small. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Giant players were the future then. For her, it was a valid take to refuse a player such as Michael Jordan. Okay, I'm a little bit harsh with this lady, because let's be honest, MJ didn't play any NBA games at that time, and nobody could predict what would happen then, so we can excuse her for her lack of vision. Even Nike couldn't predict what would happen. And talking about Nike, now that Adidas and Converse are out, they finally have an opening. Knowing that Nike was about to do anything to recruit Michael Jordan, the legendary designers Peter Moore and Rob Strasser started to imagine what could be Michael Jordan's next pair. But not immediately. They had to wait a little bit. since Nike wanted at first 3 players with the envelope of $500,000 a year. But Sonny Vaccaro, their basketball expert, told Nike they only needed 1 player, Michael Jordan. He told them, "He will be your star, your jumpman, who will fly to promote your air technology." Nike was convinced by this pitch and decided to listen to him. Nike was trusting a lot Sonny Vaccaro's words. The first meeting between Nike and Michael Jordan's team was during the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, at Tony Roma's in Santa Monica. Again, Michael Jordan didn't want to go there, but his parents forced him, saying he must at least listen to what they had to offer. And for Michael Jordan and his team, this meeting was a huge surprise, since they offered him a contract that had never been seen before. $500,000 a year for 5 years, while the biggest contract until then was Converse with $100,000 a year. So it was 5 times the most significant contract in history. That was crazy. And now you might think like me, he cannot refuse such an offer. That's impossible. Well, he declined again. But Nike went further. They told him they wanted to do his own sneaker and brand inside Nike. They wanted him to be their #1 star, like MJ and David Falk wanted at first. And it was crazy because nobody would bet on such a young rookie who hasn't proved anything in NBA yet. If MJ messed up with his career, it was the end of Nike. They were betting the brand on him. But even with all of that, Michael Jordan was still hesitating. However, his mom told him that he had to go for this deal. And because a good boy always listens to his mom, he finally accepted to sign a contract with them. But listen to me, we are far from being done with this story. Something even crazier will happen soon after. Okay, let's be honest. Michael Jordan just signed something incredible, a real jackpot. His own brand, $500,000 a year, and he will even earn royalties on the Air Jordan sales. However, MJ still had conditions to have all of that. He must be elected Rookie of the Year, be selected for the All-Star Game, and score at least 20 points each game. And finally, $3 million of Air Jordan will need to be sold at the end of the year. And even if these conditions seem complicated, they were ridiculous compared to what Michael Jordan achieved this first year. 450,000 Air Jordan shoes will be sold in a month, with a total of $126 million of shoes sold. But how is that possible? Well, there are multiple reasons for that. First, the Air Jordan became an icon like its possessor, so all the teenagers wanted some. Second, MJ was a player beyond everything people could imagine, with a great mentality. Every time he was doing something, everybody wanted to follow him. Third, thanks to him, the Chicago Bulls stadium was full again, while it was almost empty before he arrived, because of bad results. Finally, Jordan fired up the city of Chicago with his performances. Logically, he will be elected Rookie of the Year and become famous thanks to the 63 points he scored during the Bulls-Celtics game. However, even though he was doing something unique for a rookie, how could he sell 450,000 sneakers? How is that possible to generate $126 million in such a short amount of time? Well, the truth is that it's something other than his talent that sold his shoes. Many of you already know this legend, but maybe not all the details of it. In 1984, everybody was wearing all white shoes on basketball courts. It was the rule. However, Nike, forever known as the Rebel brand, decided to go against this by designing black and red shoes. They wanted to be the first to do it, to show how Michael Jordan was unique. They wanted him to be the precursor, the first player ever to wear these colors on a basketball court. Colors that are an obvious tribute to the away jersey of the Chicago Bulls. That's why when Michael Jordan entered the court with the awaited Air Jordan 1 bread, the Bulls received a letter written by David Stern, the NBA commissioner of that time, telling them that Michael Jordan was forbidden to wear that shoe, and that if he went against that ban, he would pay $5,000 per game to wear them. Why? Again, because the shoes are not white. A minimum of white was necessary for a basketball shoe to be accepted on the NBA court. Fortunately, Nike also had the Air Jordan 1 Chicago to replace it, and this one was compliant with the rules. But what would they do with all those unsold Air Jordan 1 breads?
On September 15th, Nike created a revolutionary new basketball shoe. On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them. Air Jordans from Nike.
As you can see, they opted for a great marketing campaign. The NBA has forbidden Michael Jordan to wear these sneakers, but you can wear them. Can you imagine how much hype it brought at that time? Of course, they would sell hundreds of thousands of shoes with this. Michael Jordan cannot wear a pair that you can wear. It's even better than just wearing the same sneakers as MJ. These banned sneakers were seen as a support from the fans to Michael Jordan. It created a unique link between the players and the fans. Well, that's what everybody thought. But Nike lied to you about this. Okay, let's stop with the false legends because you've had enough. First of all, the Air Jordan sneaker wasn't ready when Michael Jordan started playing on the NBA courts. Secondly, MJ was wearing the black and red Airship, another basketball model of Nike. And guess what? The famous letter sent by Nike saying Michael Jordan cannot wear his black and red shoes was for the Airship, not the Air Jordan. So the Air Jordan has nothing to do with this ban. But talking about this letter, the legend said Michael Jordan was forbidden to wear the shoe, or he would pay $5,000 per game. Regarding the color, the legend is true. The black and red Airship was very controversial, and the NBA didn't like it at all. So even if Nike said that this leather was for the Air Jordan brand, there was a part of truth in that. However, regarding the $5,000 fine, it was a pure invention. This letter was only a warning, and nobody ever said he would pay $5,000 per game to play with these shoes. David Stern, the former NBA commissioner, talked about it in the documentary Unbanned: The Legend of AG1. There's an exclusive interview where he talks about it in details. Also, except for the All-Star game, Michael Jordan never wore the Air Jordan 1 brand on a basketball court. So with this, it is confirmed that the shoe has never been forbidden. However, let's be honest again. If the Jordan 1 brand was ready at the beginning of the season, it would have been the forbidden shoe instead of the Airship. So it is not entirely false. But the legend has been modified by Nike to sell these shoes. And it is what it is today. Most people think it was true. But no, it's time to travel 14 years later to see what this shoe brought to the sneaker game. The Air Jordan 1 is the most special shoe of the Air Jordan series. Not only because it is the first one, but because it has been the only Air Jordan that Michael Jordan wore again on the basketball court. On the 8th of March in 1998, he wore them again against the New York Knicks at the Madison Square Garden. Of course, he wanted to pay tribute to the first game he ever played in this stadium. But he also wanted to show the spectators how much this sport and the sneakers have evolved in 14 years. And what's crazy about this story is that he didn't tell anyone that he would wear them. Not his team, his friends, or even Nike. Instead, he went into his own garage and brought them as if nothing had happened. He will score 42 points and do 6 assists and 8 rebounds, which is usual for such a legend. But what did he think about the Jordan 1 during the game? His feet were in blood from what he told. The comfort of basketball shoes and his foot evolved significantly through the years. Also, the shoes weren't as soft as before because they spent 13 years in a garage. Finally, the Air Jordan 1 High 85 is not a very comfy shoe. Even to walk in the street, I don't know if you ever rocked the OGs, but after 5 minutes, your feet hurt. Mainly if the shoes are new. In 1985, it was great. But today, we have so many sneakers that are way comfier. But of course, the style keeps it alive. Anyway, it was the last time we would see Michael Jordan wear these shoes on a basketball court. And we knew the end was near for him, because he retired for the second time the same year. But we'll talk about that in another video. For now, we might wonder what the role of this sneaker is in today's society. When we think sneakers, for most people, the Air Jordan 1 instantly pops in their heads. Mainly if you live in the 80s. It is the sneaker that changed everything. The shoe that created all this hype around the sneakers. Even the rarity concept. It is the shoe that made people collect sneakers. It gave the brand the idea of a new shape for the high-top sneakers. It is the ultimate inspiration. Without her, the sneaker wouldn't be what it is today. Of course, sneakers would exist, but they wouldn't have the same impact because the Air Jordan 1 is responsible for the hype. And to prove that, we just have to look at the collaborations, which became the most expensive and rare of all time. We can talk about the Air Jordan 1 Off-White Chicago, the NRG, the University Blue, also the collaborations with Union, Travis Scott like the Mocha, the Fragment, the Black Phantom, and to finish the Jor, the first regular sneaker to be sold at such a high price with such quality. Already $2,000 when you buy it, it can be resold up to $15,000 in resale. That's crazy! Only the Air Jordan 1 can do this. Only this shoe can bring the hype for every colorway they release. To conclude, we can say the Jordan 1 is the origin of the sneaker society we know today. But in reality, this was only the beginning of a bigger story, with more and more Air Jordan models released through the years, telling more and more incredible stories. And that's what we are going to do with this channel. We are going to talk about every sneaker model that ever existed to create an encyclopedia of sneakers history. And I thought that the best to start was with this sneaker, even though many sneakerheads already know a lot about it. So I hope you like this video and that you're ready to embark on this new trip to sneakers culture with me. Thanks a lot for watching until the end. Remember to like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you soon on Sneak on Air.